Hi folks, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going to be doing bear today, and I'd like to give kudos to Mike Shipley, who came up with this book some years ago called Whittling Bears and Whittling Country Bears and His Friends. It's a really good book, and so whenever I took over Mike's rough out business many years ago, I have the bears that goes along with this book, almost all of them that's in this book. But today we're going to be doing this bear here of Mike's creation called Barry. And so we have him in the rough out form if you'd like to have him. And so we're going to get started here by getting our glove on, and safety first as always. Now when you get a rough out from me or whoever, there's usually a knob on top of the particular caricature that you're going to do. Some people want me to leave them on. Some of them will say, could you cut that off? And so always be remember that there'll always be a little extra piece of wood that sticks there for the duplicator to be able to do its job. So the first thing we're going to do here is to do the grunt work of getting off the knob here, what's left of it. So we're going to take our knife here and do our best to try to get this off here as quickly as possible, but also safely. Well, this is good cutting wood. I just got these in just yesterday, so this is wonderful already. I could tell it's good wood. Okay, so now we have got to the part here where we got the knob that was there, and I took this off because there's so much wood there. And if this was like a bandsaw cutout, we would have been here another hour or two just getting down to this point. And this is why I enjoy using rough outs, is to give you all a quicker response to getting to the fun part of carving. And so, you know, carving from a bandsaw cutout or from a block of wood, yeah, it will take a lot of time. But anyway, this is be a help to you beginner carvers for you to have a rough out, and it'll teach you basic cuts and be able to see good results pretty quick, because it takes a while for a person to have to cut this out of a piece of basswood and then carve it down to this point, and then to have a rough out made out of it. It takes a lot of time on it. Okay, so now we're going to get to the fun part of the rough out here, and again, this is just a relaxed bear, you know, and this is Barry, and we've got Paw and Ma over there, and the cub, and then Double Trouble. So we got a few of those series of those guys over here. So we're going to work on the ears here just a little bit here to get our perspectives here, how they should lay. And again, this is be a good project for beginners or intermediates. Or if you're a person who doesn't carve that often, to get you back in the groove of carving. And again, like I said earlier in the intro, that I do have these on the website, and for you to get. Just working his head down. Now you can see there, look how that tore right there, right? So what do? Is we come back this way and see how better it does. But then you got to watch it right in here where the grain changes right here in this neck area. It's going to be a little challenging. So just be patient through here, and don't go too crazy. Just take small cuts. Like I said on a video a while back, if you start tearing, stop, look at it, evaluate it, and you need to go the other way, make smaller cuts. This is a little guy here you could probably get done within a afternoon setting. And you can change the paint scheme on it if you'd like, and paint them up. And they're great, just great gifts. Or if someone who lives in a cabin or something, they have a fireplace, you could set a series of bears on there and really add something to their cabin. All right, now I'm going to switch to a longer bladed knife to where I can get in here and remove more of the real estate of this guy. And always be aware where that blade's going. And especially if you're taking a class with somebody, always be aware of your neighbor next to you. Because I've taken classes from people that's had to move down a little ways because they were a little too aggressive with their tools. So always be aware of your neighbors. Working on his forearms here, his arms, his what we call hands, his paws will be in his pocket. He's wearing overalls. Overalls are a wonderful thing. And so now we're going to separate the arms, and you'll see here I'm using a large V tool to create this cut. Going in and coming down. And you know, you could do this with a knife, but look how good and clean cuts are getting with the V tool here when you do this. You don't have any knife marks or anything like that. Now you get into this point here, then you can take your knife and then remove the excess off his side of his belly here. But if you can, use your V tool there on the sides. And you'll have to come in and clean up with your knife, but at least you're not going to have a whole lot of knife marks to have to clean up and everything. And always pay attention where that blade is going. That tip of that blade is so important, because if you get so involved in carving, it might go into the side of something you don't want it to. And just another thing to remind ourselves that less cleanup you have to do, the better off you're going to be. All right, come over here now and get this arm established. And turn him every which way to get the best and safest cut for you. I've seen people who have ordered this rough out and have sent me pictures of their bears. And it's very satisfying to see their take on this bear. And some of them has really changed them up. And that is really what it's all about. And that's what the fun part of carving is taking something like this here and putting your own take on it. All right, now here is the separation. Now this piece here has a knot, so we're going to use that as part of his shoe, And hopefully when we paint him, they won't even know it's there. Come in with our V tool. Starting the outline of his breeches, his overalls. The machine leaves, quite a few things on here where you can see actually the separation from the legs or the shoes. So the rough out machine does a pretty good job. But this would start out as a 4x4 base. And so a lot to it. Bringing our cuts down to his boot, his shoes. Now do be careful here as you're coming down this way, because stranger things have happened. Could break off. So again, watch how your thumb is pushed, because you're pushing here and I'm pulling down. Well, things can happen. So just be aware of that. Watch your pressure, how you're cutting with your tool. All right, let's move down now to his belly here. Now here is going to be the separation for the back legs. And remember, a T in the back, a Y in the front. Unless you just want him to look like he's got his pants on backwards. You can do that. But normally, your carving, always remember Y in the front, T in the back. Like I said, these are great afternoon projects that you could sit down and do. And at the end of the afternoon, you've had a very satisfying afternoon and completed a nice carving. You could take your knife and do the same thing I'm doing here if you don't have a V-tool. V-tools can kind of spoil you. Nice. Removing this excess off. All right, then we can put our final, hopefully our final one there, cut there, show separation. All right, now we're going to take our V-tool and we're going to outline the back of the arms. You notice here how I got my thumb on top of my V-tool and I'm pushing with my right hand, but my left hand's keeping it, that tool from jumping out of the valley there and going into my hand. So always be cautious of that. All right, now I'm going to take a 3/4 flat V or flat gouge and round his rump some. Again, if you don't have one, you can always use your knife to do this with. But I like using this fella here. All right, I'm going to stop and show the camera here a little bit at the progress of where we're at. Okay, let's move on. Get a little bit shorter blade where I can get more control. That longer blade was just a little too much. It was jumping here and there. So I don't want my tool to be jumping on me. So we keep moving on down through here with our knife. Now we're going to take our V-tool, put the separation in the legs there. And I'm going to use a smaller V to where I can get closer to the feet. There we go. And even one that's a little smaller, we can even get closer. There we are. Come in with our knife, remove that excess of where we used our V-tool. See how that began to tear there on me? All right, so let's go back this way. It tore there too, but anyway, it's a lot better. Let's see if we can get it to not tear over here again. Yeah, much better there. Now I'm going to put a stop cut right here. And I want to create a shadow. And to create shadows, we come in like this here. Again, be aware of where that blade is going, how deep it's going. And remove that right out of there. And so you can see the difference, how it creates a nice shadow there, creates more depth to your carving. So we're going to do the same thing over here. Putting our stop cut in. Coming from this side with the tip and watching where that tip is going. And hopefully come right out of there. There we are. Left a little bit of straggles in there, but we can get those out. There we are. Good. All right, now let's continue to move down this way. And we're getting close to getting the basic shape of this guy filled in here. Just taking off the rough out surfaces is what we're doing. Because we got to put his nose and snout on, and eyes, and then carve out the ears. Let's go a little deeper here on the back 40. Okay. Now let's work on his boot, his shoes. Again, work with the knot, once in a while you'll get a piece that's got a knot in it. Do your best. At least this knot's not on his face area, Wouldn't be very useful that way. Make every cut count. Every cut has a purpose. Okay. All right, let's put him up in the camera here and see what he looks like. We're getting close. Let's come up here now on top and let's work on his facial features here. Get underneath his jaw line here. We're going to come right up here to the nose. Get this feller knocked out. Nobody knows. Make that nose stand out. Look, and I know realistically a real bear wouldn't have his nose sticking way out here, but you know what? This is my bear, your bear. And make him a big old nose if you want. That way you can smell that honey. Or smell something good. Okay. Taking your knife and pushing toward the face, where we're going to put some eyes in. Now, we're going to put in kind of a cartoonish looking eyes, not the normal eyes that I normally do. Again, watch as you carve around this ear. When you bring your knife up to it, you know, just be aware that it is sticking out there all by itself, and there's nothing, no wood on each side to keep it from flying off. If that's not too bad of a break on it, you could always glue it back. All right, I believe we have him pretty much carved as far as now we can put in the details in. See a spot right there. It needs a little TLC right there. And we're going to come in and put our Y here. And it don't have to be perfect, just to show that there's action going on there. All right, get rid of this little ridge right there, in between the legs there. Okay, so we got this side deeper than this side, which that's fine, so we can resolve that. That's pretty easy. And just go back and make this deeper. It's wonderful to have a tool that cuts so sharp. And your tool should be sharp as a razor blade. You know, learn to sharpen. I would say if anything, start with, if you get started, learn. If you can, have someone teach you, or, you know, through trial and error, just keep at it. Study the technique of sharpening, you know, the bevels and the shapes of different tools, because it will make a difference in your carving. Okay, so now let's draw in some, pull him up here to the screen where you can see him better. And we're going to put in some eyes. And again, this is just a simple way of putting in eyes. It's kind of like an upside down U, if I can get my pencil to work right. And try to get him pretty close. And again, you don't have to be an artist to do this. I'm just kidding to remind me of what I used to do in first grade. Okay, now you can do it two ways. You can take a V-tool, outline it, or you can do it with your knife. But I kind of like my V-tool because then it gives my knife an area, just a valley to follow. That way I'm not jumping all over everywhere. As long as I stay within that valley that I carved with the V-tool, I'll be all right. Remember, don't go any deeper than what your tool is made for. All right, now here comes the fun part of creating these type of eyes. And so I'm putting a stop cut at the bottom. And then I'm taking my knife and just using the tip. And I'm just going around and staying in that valley that the V-tool created. Okay, same thing here. Taking our knife, tip only, coming around the bend, coming down the hill, and there we are. Now, to create the ball of the eye, or depth to the eye, we come in and we just start rounding this off in here. Like that. And that's a very simple eye that you can do for a bear or any other animal that you'd like to do that's a caricature. Let's jump across the bridge of his nose here, do the same thing here. Take our brush. And now we're going to do the inside of the ear. And all I'm taking is a number 5 U-gouge and just creating that little indentation in the ear that bears have. They have very small ears. And not that I've seen them up close, it's just what pictures I've saw. Come over here, do the same thing, push and cut, push and cut. And taking your knife and removing all that out of there. Okay, now let's put in his cuffs down at the bottom. You can do it 2 ways. You can either do it with your knife or a V-tool. So whatever strikes your fancy. So I'm going to downsize my V-tool here. Going to come in and make that cut right there for that cuff. Because his britches are probably a little long for this guy. Okay. But you know, to give more depth here, what I would do, take your knife, stop cut around what you just V-tooled. Right on around. Again, watch. Take your time. Watch where that blade's going. Make sure your hand's not in the way. Okay. Come in from the bottom here and meet that one there. Okay. So now we're going to come in and make these cuffs stand out away from the legs here a little bit. Now you can go as deep as you want to exaggerate this feature here. Okay, now let's put in the soles for his shoes, and we're going to use a V-tool here, whatever size of V-tool you have handy, and we're just going to come and put those in. Go right down. Do the other side. Take your V-tool, lay it on its side if you can, and that will give it more depth there. And too, you know, if you want, you can just take your knife. If you don't want that thick of a shoe at the top, why, take it down. You know, so you can always take away, but you can't add. All right, so now what you need to do next is we got to put in our little mouth. As you can see here under the camera, he's got a little mouth here. Everything's got to have a mouth. So I'm going to come in and draw. And again, this will be done with a V-tool. And you really don't see it much, but it does need to be there. So All right, we're going to take our V tool here. Working with ingrain there, so that's going to slow us a little bit. Okay, let's do the other side. Yeah, there it is. Okay. All right. So, you know, and I just want to show you how you can just take a pencil and give him some action. He's looking up. Maybe he's looking up at some bees, you know, in a tree or something. He may have spotted a hole in the tree and there's bees coming out of it. He might have a rumbly in his tumbly, as Winnie the Pooh used to say. So something like that there. And then the next thing we need to do is put on his overhauls. But we're going to put in where the paw would go into the overhauls here. Hand placement, paw placement. Just like that there. Okay, and then you can take your pencil and you can put one strap on him. You can put two straps on him, whatever you'd like. It's your carving. And you can see here on the back how we come here and put a little dent there. Not a dent, but a pencil mark there. And I would run his overhauls right along his arms. That way, you know, you don't have to do a whole lot there. Because that's going to blend right in with the rest of him. You could put a big old patch here if you wanted to. Big old patch. You know, or you could carve a pocket there and have a bee looking out, you know, something. I don't know. Use your imagination. That's what's fun about carving. And it's lots and lots of fun. So I'm going to take our V tool here and finish this guy up here pretty shortly. And I think, yeah, we need to come right about here, right there. Bring that strap over. Bring it down to match where you cut in the pocket there. Yeah, and come in here. And come up a little high here and put your strap buttons right about in there. And if you want, could pick a big old pocket here in the front where you used to keep your watch, pencil, and other important little tools that you had. I tried a pair of overhauls the other day I had in the closet. And they just don't fit like they used to. I don't know why. They must have shrunk. Must have shrunk. Taking our V tool, just outlining our pencil marks to create the straps of the overhauls. Coming down here. Almost went through him. That's why it's important to us. Short strokes, short strokes. Okay, and then we're going to continue right here. Right up there between his chest. Top of the overhauls. Inside strap. Let's put his pocket in. Put another, just one right there where the pencil would go. Divide it. There. And let's put a button right here. So take a U-gouge, wiggle, wiggle, push, push. Make an upside down C and come underneath there. Don't get too close to your first cut. Make a U and then take it lightly and carve out both sides of that stop cut. And there you have a button. Very simple way of putting buttons on things. Wiggle. Wiggle again. Push. And so, I believe, if I haven't forgotten anything, except the patch, we can put that patch in. Make it as rough as you want, because he is out in the elements. Boy, is he ever. And so we can piddle on him all day long, but you can see there, he is a guy that just turned out pretty cute, didn't he? And, you know, you can put small eyes on him, make him really beady-eyed looking, you know, or off thinking or whatever, but it's your carving. You do what you want, and so just have fun with him. And so anyway, I do believe that takes care of this guy. This is Barry the Bear, and he's on our website. And if you'd like to try to carve this guy, he is in the rough out form. And again, thank you for joining us today, and happy carving.